We are starting out on the hook shank, and we will lay a good thread base, just you would on any other fly. And then we take our big fly fiber to make the tail. Just take a few strands, strip them out, and make sure that you taper them in the end, so you can double them over. Just like so. Tie it in, and then simply double it over. Make sure you don't take too much material, because it will be on the tail and it shouldn't be too thick. Now, as a little trick, take an open pen and try to wrap the fibers all around the shank, so it builds up a nice volume in the end. Now you take your dry fly hackles, strip them a little bit, and make sure you tie them in straight on the side. When you take them off the braid, make sure you take the back ones, the little wider ones. You want to create volume on the fly, because it's going to be for pike or large perch and any kind of predator fish, and you want to make volume in the end, so it plays nicely in the water. And once you're finished, you take a little bit of super glue. Make sure that everything stays in place, that no fish can really mess with your fly, that it holds up for a lot of fish. The next step, we take bucktail and we tie it in hollow. Take a good clump of bucktail, tie it in backwards, facing basically the eye of the hook. Make sure you wrap it all around the shank, that it's evenly spread all around. Make a few loose turns and then tighten it really tight, so it splays out nicely, just you would when you spin deer here, for example. And then you can take your pen again and do the same thing as you did on your big fly fiber. Double it over, make it nice and even around the shank, and make sure that everything stays in place with a couple of nice turns. Build up a ball of thread in front of it, so it doesn't go in all directions, just in the back, but it creates a lot of volume, and this is exactly what you want. Now, to make it a little more flashy, especially if you fish a little murky water, or if you target early season pike, they like the flashy stuff, so depending how aggressive you want to fish, you can play around with the amount of flash you take. But here again, try to make it even around the shank. Double it over and take your pen again to make everything proportioned nicely around the shank. That way the fly will look the same from basically all sides. Step, we take the dry fly hackle again, try to make it around the same size, and you want your fly to be nicely tapered, so make sure that you take the same length of dry fly hackle, so they don't end at the same spot. I like to put some leather scale on the sides, just to give it a little more flash on the sides and make it a tiny more realistic in the water, because predatory fish tend to grab their prey from the side, and I like to do it on all my pike flies. Now again, as a little tip, take your little hair clamps and pin it all together, so you don't have the material in your way and you have your hands free. Now for the head, we build up a good amount of craft fur. Take out the under fur. You can take a little comb, or you can take your fingers to strip away all the fuzzy stuff in the back of the fibers. It'll just be in your way, and it will make your head a lot more bulky when it's not necessary. The first bunch of craft fur we will tie just in normally with the fibers to the back. Make a few very tight turns so it's all in place, and then do the same on the bottom. Take your tan craft fur, strip out the under fur, make sure that everything is nice and tapered, and tied in with a few very tight wraps. You can play around, you can do some loose wraps, and then put everything into place. Make sure that everything is tight in the end, and then you can take away the excess. Try to cut it very close to your wraps, so you don't have too much bulky stuff in between when you do your last bunch of craft fur. Now for the last turn, we will double over the craft fur again. So we tie it in hollow, tied in with all the fibers facing the eye of the hook. This will allow us to make a very nice looking head, make a very water pushing head. This will make the head of the fly look very clean and very nicely. Do the same thing on top and bottom. Make sure you cut off the excess, but in this step it's not too important that it's all cut away, because we will double it over anyways, and you want to have a little volume in the head. Now when you're done, you can double it over, finish your fly off with a nice whip finish, and then you're pretty much almost done. So to make sure that everything stays in place and the fly doesn't look messy after a few casts, take a drop of Buck Bond Original and just apply it very, very sparsely to the head, and make sure that everything will stay in place, stay to the back. Form your head like you want it, and then you will fixate everything with your UV lamp. Once you apply the UV light, everything will stay in place just as you like. And to make the fly just a tiny bit more realistic, add some ice and you're done with your fly.